isn't tight, or I recognize he's pulling the single leg, and before he can get it tight, I can hit this escape. Right? So we're gonna start the same way. So he's gonna hit his little arm drag, get to that single leg, right? So once we get here, and this is where I make that decision, right, of how tight is his control, right? So if his control isn't that tight with his arms, once I pummel my foot and I feel that, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push his head and I'm gonna turn my body away. Now I'm gonna point my toes and I'm gonna pull this out, right? So the best time to hit this is as he goes to pick this up, because he's not tight yet, right? So this is a timing one, because by the time he picks it up, he's usually gonna be pretty tight here.
Yeah.
Right? Once he gets to this spot, he's gonna be pretty tight, at least he should be. Right? If you're going against anyone who's decent, right? New guys may not be tight enough yet, but if you go against anyone who's skilled, like once they get here, it's gonna be tight.
Clear.
Right? So this is why when he hits, let's go back to the beginning. Right? When he hits the arm drag, and he gets there, like I'm hitting it before he can get tight on it. Right? So I'm just pushing the head, I'm turning my hips away, and I'm pulling that out. And when I pull that out, right, go ahead. I want to make sure I turn all the way around. Right? Once I pull it out, don't just stop and expose your back. Right? So once I pull it out, I'm coming all the way around so I can reset. Does that make sense? Alright, let's try it. 3, 2, 1. Same way, only this time he's going to hit the arm drag. Right? And get to the single leg here. Right? So there's different ways I can deal with this. The first thing I want to do is I want to push his head. Right? So I'm going to get here and push his head away. Like this. Now I'm going to look to pummel my foot to the outside. Now, like we've seen, this is where he can make that switch to go to that other, right? So when I do this and I pummel this outside, I'm going to immediately come in and get underhooks. Right? And see how my leg already broke free? Right? So keep it super tight this time. Right? So once I push his head and I pummel this out, I'm coming right in through here. And then this one's coming right underneath. And now I just stop the core. I've got double unders on it. Right? So this is the first one. So we're getting to here. So you can do the whole first setup, the arm drag all the way to this spot. He's going to be tight when we first get here, right? So when he's tight, I'm pushing the head away. My foot pops to the outside. Most people, when I let go of his head, he's going to bring it back in. That gives me my underhook. This one digs in. Now I just pop. Right? As an added bonus, I'm over his head. I could just do a 10-finger guillotine right here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Right? We'll just work the escape for right now. If you want to play with the guillotine, you can. But right now, it's just getting those underhooks, kick that leg, get those, you got double unders. Right? You can turn this into a never-ending drill. Right? I can get here, pop this, come inside, and now he can go. Right? So he'll pummel his foot to the outside, push the head. Right? Now he's going to get the underhooks. Right? Now he'll shoot to the single leg. Right? We're just going back and forth. Right? We just keep push it. Now get your underhooks. Alright? You just go back and forth. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Let's try it. 3, 2, 1. Single leg, right? He gets here. We're playing this game. So this time he's pinching real tight. I'm having a hard time pummeling, doing anything with this leg, right? So I don't want to get, taken down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my chest away and push his head across. All right? Now I'm coming over the top and I'm connecting my hands around his waist. And I want to go hands to the far hip. All right? Now I'm going to sit to my left hip and I'm going to kick with my right foot. And we land on top.
On top,
Right?
I say.
So we're here, got to this spot. We're here, I can't pummel this out. Maybe I'm pushing, I just can't get anything going. So I'll push across, connect. right? I get my hands all the way through tight on that far hip, right? So we're here. Now I'm sitting, kicking over, and we can come up on top.
Lord.
Right? So, as I catch that, right, and I'm here, I'm over the top and I'm sitting there, all I'm gonna do is sit to this hip, right, and I kick and I back roll over my shoulder.
So it's going over the opposite shoulder. That way, okay.
Yeah, whichever hip you sit to, I'm rolling over the shoulder on that same side. So if this is the foot that's in between, I sit to my left hip, kick, roll over my left shoulder. All right, let's try it. 3, 2, 1. It's the same setup. I push this over, but instead of body locking him, I attach to his arm. Right, so I grab the wrist and I grab my wrist. Right, and it's the same mechanics. I sit and I kick. Now I'm here and I have control of his arm. And now it sets up Kimura stuff, it sets up back takes. Right? So, you know, so it's the same kind of mechanics as the body lock counter we were just doing. You know, so, but I wanted to do the body lock first because it's harder, and if you learn the roll with that, the Kimura one becomes really easy. You know, so, but that's something we'll play with later. So any questions over the last one, any of them that we went over today? Can you remember everything we went over today?
So I videotape.
You make it look good.
That's my job. My job is to make it look easy. So it'll get there. So, you know, it's just, you know, it's just time and reps, you know, lots of drilling, you know, so, and eventually it gets there. I was not comfortable with stand-up wrestling, counters, any of that for a long, long time. You know, so it wasn't until probably I was a purple belt, and really even until I got my brown belt that I really started feeling more comfortable on my feet. I never wrestled, I never did any of that, so for jiu-jitsu I always just sat guard, you know, and I kept working my stand-up, but I didn't like it. So, but now, like, I feel pretty comfortable. You know, I'm still not going to stand with someone who's a good wrestler, you know, but I at least feel like I can stand and do stuff against a lot of people. So it just comes with time, you know, reps and putting in the work, you know, but it'll get simpler, it'll get less exhausting. So, you know, so, yeah, as you get used to the movements, you'll use less energy and less strength, and it won't be as hard. Right, and in the meantime, you'll use lots of strength, and it'll make you stronger. So, you know, it's kind of a nice part of jiu-jitsu is when you suck at technique, you get stronger, you burn more calories, you get thinner, you know, get more fit, all of those things. And then once you get the techniques down, then you don't have to use nearly as much energy. So, you know, so it's one of those things where, you know, they talk a lot about how, like, some people when they make black belt, and especially if they're not competing as much anymore, a lot of times then they get, you know, they gain weight, you know, because when they roll, they don't have to use a lot of energy, you know, so they're not burning as many calories as everybody else when they roll, you know. But when you're a white belt, like, you're burning a ton of calories because you don't know what you're doing, and you're trying to make up for it with strength and explosiveness, and you're just burning all kinds of calories. Right? You know, so, you know, the big key to jiu-jitsu is long term is I want to be energy efficient. You know, from a self-defense aspect, there's no clock on the street, right? It's not like, oh, this is gonna be a 5-minute match. Yeah. Right? Like, it's gonna take as long as it takes. It might take a minute, it might take an hour. I've got to be able to protect myself for as long as I need to, right? You know, back in the day, jiu-jitsu matches were submission only, no time limit. Yeah, they used to go for hours. Sometimes they'd go 4, 5, 6 hours, single match. You know, so you've got to be able to conserve your energy and use it properly, and when you need to stay safe and not gas out and get tired and, you know, and lose. You know, so that's what it's like on the street. You know, is I can't burn all my energy right at the beginning, and then now I've adrenaline dumped, I'm exhausted, and now I'm getting beat up. Right? So, So it's one of those things that our goal in jiu-jitsu, and this is if you wrestled, it's completely the opposite of wrestling. Right? Wrestling's, I'm getting in there, I'm pushing the envelope, I'm trying to use my speed, my explosiveness, everything to get the takedowns, get the controls, get the pin, right? Get all of that. Jiu-jitsu, it's, I'm trying to conserve my energy. I'm trying to make you do all the work. I'm letting you push, and use energy, and I'm countering and using it to move around and do what I need to do, so that if either of us gets tired, it's going to be you, not me, right? And that's why at 43 years old, I can come in here on 10 round Tuesday and I can roll, with as many rounds as everybody else does. And most of the time I roll twice as many rounds as everybody else does. So, it's because I know how to conserve my energy. I know how, when I'm tired, I can just, breathe and work my way through it, and I can continue to roll. But if you don't know how to do that, you're going to gas out and then you got to sit out, right? So, that stuff will come, but any last minute questions? Cool. Let's get